Okay, in this tutorial what we're going to do is we're going to install a DHCP server in Ubuntu. I'm running Ubuntu 11.10 in a virtual machine. I've got a VMware player virtual machine with Ubuntu 11.10 installed. What we're going to do is we're going to install the DHCP server in here, and it's going to hand out IP addresses on this virtual network basically between virtual machines. And what we're hoping to accomplish is that this other virtual machine, which I haven't started up yet, Fedora 16 VMware player virtual machine, will pick up an IP address from this Ubuntu server that's going to be running DHCP services. So let's talk a little bit about the virtual machine. The virtual machine has settings, and specifically the network adapter is in bridged mode. And in bridged mode, it should pick up an IP address from the wireless router of the network that I'm on. So let's check that. So what I'll do is type in terminal, hit enter. I've got a terminal here, and I'll type if config, and you can see that I have picked up an IP address on this network. It's the 2 network, and it looks like the wireless router is handing out IP addresses 2.100 to 2.150. If you need to get your networking up, you can always use this little network manager tool up here at the top, and you can auto Ethernet or enable your networking, whatever. So now that we have this up and running, we have an internet connection. We can install DHCP server by downloading the packages from the internet. So what I'm going to do is I'll type clear, and I'll do a sudo apt-get update to update my package list to start with. Okay, my package list is updated, and now I'll type clear, and I'll do a sudo apt-get install dhcp3-server. Okay, looks like it found it. I'll hit Y, enter. Okay, it looks like, all right, setting up the ISC DHCP server. And what you'll do is you'll see that you're going to get a fail. And the reason you get a fail is that you've successfully installed the DHCP server, but it hasn't been configured yet. So you have to configure it before it's going to work. So that's no problem at all. This is totally normal. So now that we've installed the DHCP server, all we have to do is configure it. Alright, so let's go configure it. So I'll type clear here, and what I'll do is I'll do change directory, root directory, etc. Let's look in there, ls. And you can see if you do an ls command that we've got a folder here called DHCP. We need to go into that folder and look for our configuration file. So I'll do a cd DHCP. Let's take a look in it. So we change directory. Now we're in root etc DHCP. We'll do ls, and in there you can see that the last file in here is the dhcpd.conf file. This is the configuration file for the DHCP server that we need to configure. So what we'll do is we'll do a sudo nano dhcpd.conf, and that will open up the dhcpd.conf file in the nano text editor. Now I'm using the arrows on my keyboard, and you can see this configuration file, every line that starts with a pound sign is been commented out. And so I'm going to go down here. I'm going to look for, here we go, here's a very basic subnet declaration. And then if you go down here, it says right here a slightly different configuration file for an internal subnet. This is what we want right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that down a line, and I'll uncomment this line, and I'll change subnet 10.5.5.0 to 192.168.2.0, which is the network that we're on. And I'm going to change this net mask from 255.255.255.224 to 255.255.255.0. Now the range, this is the range of addresses that you're going to be handing out to clients on the network. So you need to change that. So I'm going to say 192.168.2. Let's hand out address, let's see here, 10 to, let's say, 192 168.2.30, right? So we'll hand out addresses 192.168.2.10 to 192.168.2.30. And of course we need to get rid of this pound sign. So then domain name servers, we need to have some domain name servers. We'll uncomment that, and then we'll change the domain name server to 192.168.2.1, and then comma, space, how about 8.8.4.4. All right. I don't have a domain name that I need to configure on this network, but I do need to configure a gateway router. So that's going to need to be 192.168.2.1. The broadcast address is optional, but if we want to, it's good to know. The broadcast address would be 192.168.2.255. And then the default lease time and the max lease time, we'll just uncomment those. And we'll uncomment this last curly brace. So now the whole thing is ready to go. I'll backspace 1. So we only left one line commented. Everything else is good. And so it's ready to go. So all we have to do now is do a Control X to exit. And it says, do you want to save? Y for yes. And then the file name to write to, and the dhcpd.conf. So I'm just going to hit enter because I want to accept the same file name. So now we've configured our DHCP server by configuring our dhcpd.conf file. So now all we have to do is we need to restart our DHCP server, or in fact start it. So let's do that. So what we'll do is we'll say sudo /etc/init.d. Let's see here, and then we'll go /ISC DHCP. Let's see, tab. If we can tab complete it, it'll complete it for us. Then what we'll need to do is we'll just say restart. Okay, space and then restart, hit enter, and stopping the ISC server, you see a fail here, and then starting the DHCP server, okay. So this time it's okay. Now the stopping failed because it actually wasn't running, and we had said restart. So we could have probably here just put start instead of restart, and then we wouldn't have got that initial fail. But the DHCP server is running now, so it should be handing out IP addresses on the network. So let's launch this Fedora 16, or let's launch a client and see if we can pick up an IP address. So I'll go here and we'll play this virtual machine, and we'll see if we can pick up an IP address. Now this virtual machine has also got, once it launches, we'll take a look at its settings and see what the network adapter, what mode it's in. Okay, looks like it started up. We'll take a look at its virtual machine settings, and the network adapter right now is in LAN segment mode, and I'm going to change it. I need to change this to bridged mode and click OK. And I'm not sure if I can just do that on the fly here. We'll see if we can pick up an IP address. All right, let's take a look. So we'll go to Applications, System Tools Terminal, and we'll type ifconfig, and you can see that it picked up an IP address 192.168.2.10. So that worked out really well. It picked up an IP address not from my wireless router, but it picked up the IP address from my Ubuntu machine. And if we want to prove it, we can prove it by issuing another command from the server. So on the server, let's do this. On the server, we'll say sudo tail command var /lib/dhcp /dhcpd.leases. And you can see that by putting in this command, we look at the var lib dhcp dhcpd leases, and this shows us our leases, and you can see that we've leased 2.10. It shows the starting and the ending time of the lease. It shows the client, the binding state, next binding state, and it shows us the MAC address that it was bound to. So we've successfully handed out an IP address with our virtual machine DHCP server to another virtual machine DHCP client. Now I did have to change the virtual machine's settings by changing the NIC and putting the network adapter into bridged mode to get it to work. So make sure you do that. Now this client could be another Linux machine, but it could have been a Windows machine, an XP machine, or whatever, and you should find that it works.